Hi, I'm Dr. Rudy Kachmann. Welcome to our show today. I've been speaking mainly about wellness on this program for probably 15 years now. And I'll give you a little background in case a few of you might not know me. I was a neurosurgeon for 45 years, but I'm only 39 years old for the 42nd time in 2 weeks. Okay, so get out your calculator. I did notice in all those years of neurosurgery that the majority of patients that I was seeing really needed some wellness coaching. In other words, they didn't need to have the procedures that we as a specialty of neurosurgery were doing in other fields too, cardiovascular surgery, orthopedics. I think medicine in general is overdoing it. That's my opinion. But I am widely read. I got 1,200 books in my basement. I've read them all. Okay, I go to many conferences, and I have many books and scientific papers backing up what I speak about. And if you just look at the desk in front of me, you'll see that I have certainly a sampling of them, and I've written 15 of them. I'm through public access on radio 95.7. Couple of TV shows every week, give lectures all the time to corporations. And the latest thing I've done, which may interest you, if you're watching this show, for example, that there's a Sheila Walker who runs a pharmacy called the Three Rivers Pharmacy right by Concordia High School. It's the last building on Anthony as you're heading across Coliseum. On the left-hand side, she's from Indianapolis. She bought that pharmacy, and I just went in to see what was going on in there. A wonderful woman has given me a free office because 44 years of neurosurgery, 5 years of being a wellness doctor at Lutheran Hospital, for which I'm thankful. And I still give lectures there. You can go to Kachmann-Health and see my schedule. I give one on diabetes, one on maybe gluten, maybe narcotics, many pain, many different subjects. And you can go to Amazon Books. Got 15 books on there now on many different subjects about health. The average person really lacks health knowledge, and that's not the fault of the average person. What it is I think we as physicians in the medical schools, we have not educated the public in the school system too, that they can make wise health decisions. And the one that bothered me the most, going back to say 1972 or so when I started paying attention to these things, is that Candace Pert wrote a book called Molecules of Emotion. And what she discovered was the opiate receptor site. She discovered that every cell in our body, 70 trillion cells, had on them receptors sticking up from the cell. She saw it under an electron microscope. She saw these receptors, they're wiggling, looking for chemicals, and she discovered the opiate receptor site. If you took morphine, that's the way it worked. It had a receptor, go in the cell and give its message. That's how insulin transports sugar into the cell for energy. It hits the receptor, and that opens the door to the cell. Every cell in our body has those, including the brain. Yes, every cell in our body. And what she really proved, that with our thought process, with our brain, through our 50 hormones, through neuropeptides, at least a few hundred, okay, and neurotransmitters, the chemical that jumps, the protein that jumps between the axon and the dendrite that sends the message across trillions of them, how through our thought process and through nerves, autonomic and peripheral nervous system can speak to our body. She even discovered that our immune system, say the spleen, for example, the thymus, has actual nerves going to it, as well as receptors on the cells which respond to dopamine, neurotransmitters, neuropeptides. She, in essence, connected the mind to the body. Since she discovered that the monocytes, that's our Army, Navy, Air Force, our immune system, makes these chemicals too. They speak to our brain. So this is very important medicine. That's the reason I bring this up first, that our brain speaks to our body speaks to our brain. We can speak to our immune system reports back to us. That's critical to know. So it isn't just the x-ray to the operation or the blood test to the operation. The body is very complex. And if your provider doesn't understand the mind-body connection, he's going to make a misdiagnosis. He's going to just act on this x-ray report and never ask you what's going on in your life. I think you needed to know this mind-body connection and health and these receptors. And these receptors respond to food, type of food that you're eating, for example, different reaction to sugar or fat or proteins, for example. In the same way in our gut, we've got trillions of bacteria living in our gut. Yeah, trillions of bacteria live in our gut. And they decide whether to absorb what you're eating. And they react to the type of food you're presenting to them. Okay? Isn't this interesting? Let's take a step further, though, now, and discuss something nature designed in us so that we would seek food to stay alive. Okay? They designed a circuitry in certain chemicals. Okay? For example, our frontal lobe, our thought system, can connect to certain centers in the posterior frontal lobe or in the brain stem that would make us feel good. There's an area there no bigger than 1 millimeter in size called nucleus accumbens, and if you were to light up a cigarette, it would light up and release dopamine. I feel good. The darn trouble is the nicotine level goes down, and within minutes you got to light up again. So it's and the chemicals come with nicotine, they're poisonous. So it's an extremely poor habit. But nature also designed that it reacts to sugar. Sugar, they found out, is more addictive than heroin and cocaine. Yeah. It was designed so that we would seek food to stay alive. And because there wasn't a lot of food available millions of years ago, it would convert it into fat and store it. Some people, hundreds of thousands years ago, maybe you wouldn't eat for a month, but were able to stay alive because the sugar will be converted to that we didn't use up right then and there to stay alive, converted to fat, and we could live off of that for a period of time. When, for example, can't believe it or not, I have a woodchuck living under my house for 7 years now. I'm his friend. Who would tolerate that? But I do. He even smiles at me. He's still hibernating. You see, he hibernates. He stores a lot of fat. I notice, in the fall, he's getting a real big belly. Maybe because of what I'm feeding him. But anyway, he's been sleeping with that, living off of that the whole time. It's hibernation, okay? And his basic metabolic rate dropped, so he doesn't really burn up many calories. He's a lot skinnier now than we went there this fall. Of course, many other animals do that too. Frogs do that, okay? So we have in the brain the nucleus accumbens, which releases dopamine. Sugar will do it. Alcohol will do it. Laughter will do it. Exercise will do it. Music will do it. So we can use a lot of things to feel good, okay? So a lot of us need a quick fix. We get up in the morning. What do? Give the wife a hug. My animals, my 2 cats embrace me, sit on my chest. always over my heart. I don't know, I think they must feel the electrical energy of my heart. And then I go downstairs and I watch the birds and the bunnies and the animals feeding off my bird feeders. Sometimes deer even appear to grab the food I put out. I love all of nature, so that's just me. Oh, okay. And I do some reading in my writing books in the morning. This is my quick fix, okay? I also walk in nature, 30 minutes usually. I look at the leaves and I may sing a song, and I might, like this morning, I learned the song of the cardinals and the red-winged blackbirds, and we exchange music to each other. That's my quick fix. But other people, what they use for a quick fix, they grab a donut. They grab some sugary food. They have sugary foods for breakfast. You see, that's a quick fix. That's fast food. And that's what today's talk here is about a little bit, is we are committing fast food genocide. We're killing ourselves because the fast food has been stripped of its vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals which we need to run the machinery of our body. We need these, but we're not getting them because we're eating food that has been stripped of the nutrients. We're eating donuts and sugary breakfast products. What do I have for breakfast? I already had a quick fix of things I've done. I don't necessarily need the food, but a lot of people need the food for their quick fix, okay? I have something called a smoothie. I take foods of color. Dr. Furman, whose book I'm going to refer to on fast food genocide in a minute. I'm following his book here a bit. Remember, I said I have a lot of scientific references. Talks a lot about nutrients and vitamins and minerals. So I will have a smoothie. I have a Vitamix machine, or you can buy some others for $100. Ninja, for example. And this, you put in there, and this through high machinery tears up the membranes of the cells of these vegetables. It could be kale, it could be fruit, could be nuts, could be seeds. Mix them all together. Many different recipe books available. And then I drink it through a straw. I may drink it on the way to work, for example. I might eat with it a little bit of fruit or Ezekiel bread with a little peanut butter on it. Ezekiel bread has all the nutrients in it. It's the freezer section of all the markets. White bread is sugar. You don't want that. White bread has been stripped of all its nutrients because your body needs nutrients, and you will keep on eating and eating because your nutrient need has not been met. My nutrient need has been met because of the smoothie. I have one every day. You want to be healthy? Have a smoothie every day, okay? 1 out of 2 people in this nation is pre-diabetic or diabetic. Yeah, 1 out of 2. About 30 diseases are associated with that. That's the reason I want you to get healthy. Dr. Joel Furman, a friend of mine, he got a hold of his book. I encourage you to read his book. Okay, you notice those little flags on top. I mark certain chapters when I reread this book. He's going to be here in September, incidentally. He'll be at the First Assembly Church. It's not my church, but that's where he's been hired to go. And he said he would not come to Fort Wayne unless he stayed at my house. So I'm looking forward to that. So stay close to me. You can personally meet him. And I'm going to play him tennis that night because he was here about 3 years ago, and I beat him that night. Yes, I did. And he's an Olympic skating champ when he was younger, so he's athletic, all right. But again, so I'm kind of proud of that one. Very nice person, and great to hear. Of all the people that I've read about proper nutrition, and I have some others here which are very good, but I like Dr. Furman's the best. He's 100% honest. He has really researched it. He's world famous, like some of the other people I have here, like Dr. Hyman, Dr. Wes Youngberg, all world famous too. But after reading all these scientific papers, I've come to the conclusion that I'm closest to the way Dr. Furman teaches, which he teaches a nutrient-dense way of eating. You know, a little bit of meat, okay, 20% or so, but meat is so full of nitrous amines and fat, it's not healthy for you. You eat meat 7 days a week and you're healthy. I'd be surprised. And incidentally, I'd like to mention while we're on that subject, you may even look good, but you're not just what you eat. You're not just what you digest. Contrary to what you might think, you are what your blood work is. So I want you to get your blood checked, okay? We'll speak more about it as time goes on here. So I want you to eat at least 3 meals a day, okay? But the breakfast, have a smoothie, you know, and with it some maybe Ezekiel bread or some fruit, or you can have things in addition to this smoothie, for example. If you don't want a health problem, or if you get a health problem, I would suggest, and if you're interested in reading, okay, you can watch a lot of my TV shows. You really don't need to read, to be honest with you, or our radio show through public access here. Dr. Furman wrote a book called Quick Fix. It's a cookbook. He has 100 recipes in there: breakfasts, lunches, dinners, snacks, smoothies, about 15 pages of medical information. If you were to, and a picture of everything in there, and if you were to eat that way, if you had a weight problem, or if you had a type 2 diabetes problem, for example, it'd be cleared up in a month or two, yeah, in a month or two. This is not a diet. It's a way of eating, because these nutrients are needed to satisfy your appetite. When you've had enough nutrients in your body, the appetite will be turned off. So there's no limit how much you eat. You notice Weight Watchers, which to me is about the best of the systems, but I still don't like it completely because, I'll tell you why, no points for vegetables and fruit. But then like 30 points, you can eat anything you want to. Well, the darn trouble is, food is addictive, okay? Especially fast food. I mean, what's fast food? That's food that has been prepared in a factory. They run it through there quickly. It's stripped of its nutrients. It may be, for example, from California, and they stop in Colorado because it was a green apple, and then they spray it beautiful colors, and they bring it here, and you see this beautiful apple, and you eat it. That's a fast food because it has all these chemical sprays on it, and your liver has to metabolize those sprays. It's junk food. If food has chemicals added to it, sprays, they can now, believe this or not. There's a book called The Dorito Effect. If you were to read that book, they can imitate any taste today, any taste. Yeah, they can even have a spray make it taste like chicken McNuggets may have some sprays in it to make it taste like chicken. I actually thought I read that. Okay, a lot of things taste like something, the taste you're looking for, but with fast food, it may not be that thing because you are eating a spray. Wow. That's fast food, okay, where they've added chemicals and sprays and manufacturing processes. Maybe they wrapped this piece of, say, healthy chicken. I mean, chicken is still 34% fat, yeah. Not a health food, but a certain amount I could go along with. And they wrap it in sugar and they feed it to the high school kid and pretend it's a healthy food. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretend it's a healthy food, okay? And you can watch the school system there because they're feeding the kids a lot of junk food. For example, I read a book called Whitewash by Joe Keon. Don't just accept my opinion. Read the book, Whitewash by Joe Keon, okay? It talks about milk. And once you finish reading this book, if you drink milk or give your kid milk, I would be surprised. Full of scientific papers. Cow's milk is made for baby cows. 5,400 mammals make milk. Every milk is different. Different carbohydrates, different proteins, different fats. A mouse milk, for example, will double the size of the mouse in about 10 days. It's much higher protein, for example. The casein in milk is extremely carcinogenic. Read Colin Campbell's books, The China Study. It's right in there. It's carcinogenic. Type 1 diabetes, where you don't make insulin. Type 2 is where you have too much insulin, okay? Higher rates with people who have gluten problems or people who drink a lot of milk. I've spoken to some pediatricians last year. They didn't know that. It's in those books. It's in those books, okay? And if you start giving fast food to your child at age 2 or 3 or 4, and they grow up with food that's been stripped of their vitamins, the minerals, the phytochemicals, you will addict your child to sugar. And sugar is more addictive than cocaine or heroin. It hits this addictive circuitry, remember I spoke about, the nucleus accumbens, the quick fix, the dopamine. Then if you go further back in the brain stem, the TGI system there secretes serotonin. That gives you long-lasting feeling good. Okay, contentment, for example. That's what you want to aim for. You want contentment. If you're eating foods that don't raise your blood sugar very much, you'll have contentment in you. The same with exercise, for example, can bring on contentment. So we have the quick fix, the dopamine, and we have the serotonin, which keeps you happy for hours at a time without needing that donut or the quick fix, the cigarette, the drink of alcohol, or maybe as many people or children especially are using today is the internet, creating a world for themselves, not related necessarily to what exists. They're living in another world. And they're sitting too. If you're sitting they've now shown that sitting many hours, you get something called sitting disease. It turns on and off an enzyme in your vascular system. So if you sit for 2 hours without getting up, because there's no gravity on you when you're doing this, okay? It's like smoking a pack of cigarettes. They've proven that now. That's the reason you hear about treadmill deaths and things of that nature. So Americans are eating about 60% fast food carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. About 30% meat. Mm-hmm. A lot of this meat they're eating is where the beef was put in a pasture for a few months, 6 months, then in a cage for a couple of months to teach the beef to eat corn, genetically modified corn. It comes by in a tray. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then eventually they put the beef in a cage where it can't move for a month or so, and they give it much more concentrated hormones, for example. Cows, they give hormones, so you produce more milk, and then your child drinks the hormones, or you eat the hormones. Remember, what you're eating is what the animal ate. You may think you're eating this fresh fish from the ocean, when actually it's from a pond. And what do they feed the fish? Genetically modified corn. So what are you having for dinner? Salmon or fresh fish? You're eating genetically modified corn, a fast food. You're eating salmon, and it's a fast food. So what they feed it, what they spray on it, determines what it is. If you're eating vegetables or meat or something, that's been either sprayed or fed genetically modified foods or chemical foods. You're eating the chemicals. That's a fast food. That's a fast food instead. They changed the way, the type of food we're eating after the Second World War, because they fed the army differently. For example, like the Mediterranean diet, the Germans took all the meat from the people in Greece and Crete, so when you read about the Mediterranean diet, their diet has changed. There's no standard Mediterranean diet. I studied it. It's a little healthier, but much healthier way of eating is Dr. Furman. And Dr. Furman, I mean, what does he say? 70-80% vegetables, 20% meat if you need to, and eat meat, grass-fed beef, for example, where the least number of chemicals have been applied to the animal. I eat less animal foods as time goes by, partly because I've learned what they do to animals to put them on my plate. Once you read some books on what they do to the beef or to the chicken, they put them in a little cage, they kill all the males because they don't lay eggs, and then they give them modified corn to eat in 32 days, I think it is, and they kill them and they come on your plate. Most don't even have bones, okay? So learn something about what they do to the animals, and you may eat less animals. I eat less animals. And now, because I don't eat a lot of this fatty food, at 135 pounds, okay, 135 pounds, and I wasn't always that way. And I didn't have to diet. I'm just eating different food. I noticed this little tire around here, which I didn't notice it. Something must have fallen off of me when I stopped eating white bread, which is sugar, for example, and stopped eating less meat. This tire went away without trying to diet at all, and I buy new clothes, always tightening it up. This happens very quickly, and without following a diet. I don't follow a diet, but I do exercise for the fun of it. So that's important. But if you're trying to keep your weight normal or lose a little bit of weight or get rid of your diabetes, which you could get rid of probably in 30 days if you eat a nutrient-dense way, exercise is maybe 20% of it. Yeah. You can exercise all day long. Maybe you lose 150, 200 calories an hour. You know what percent of the people work out regularly in the gym? 3.5%. I studied it. Yeah, like Planet Fitness, you know, they're selected to go in the first place. 30,000 members at one place, and they told me only 10% of the people show up regularly. Isn't that interesting? I go there because people want a little coaching sometimes, and I do it, you know, I do it for nothing. Incidentally, while I'm on that subject about coaching, if you have a health problem, I remember I had this neurosurgery and then wellness teaching, that I go to a pharmacy now at just by Concordia High School called the Three Rivers Pharmacy, and I do some coaching there for free. Just go over there. Sheila Walker is there, and she will give you an appointment for free to see me, and I will teach you how to get rid of your diabetes or your addictions, and that is service I give to the public, and you should maybe take advantage of. Let me talk a little bit more about other books that I brought with me, because you can gather some information. One I brought is one of my books here called The New Slavery. The New Slavery is a book I wrote. And what I'm saying is we're a slave to sugar. We're a slave to sugar. And industry designed it that way. The government supports the price of sugar. Would you believe it? And that's what's killing us. Yeah, they do. It's lobbying money. We will never beat the lobbyists, okay? Too much money involved. Too much money involved. So you need to participate in your health care. Maybe do a little bit of reading or a little bit of listening or look at my YouTube shows. And remember, I give free consultations at the Three Rivers Pharmacy where you can learn more about it. So I encourage you to read this book because we are addicted to sugar. And as you see the bottom of the book, I have the hands in handcuffs, all races, all colors. We're probably running 70-80% people that are overweight, and these are the people more likely to develop type 2 diabetes is when you're overweight. Although 25% of people look perfectly thin, but they have fat on their liver and they get type 2 diabetes anyway, and that's the reason I encourage everyone to get blood testing every year. Starting at what age? 2. Yeah. Put it in a book. Put it on a computer and follow it year after year. And you can see if your triglycerides are getting elevated or if your blood sugar is going up. And at the Three Rivers Pharmacy, you could pick up this sheet right here, one page, in which I put all the complications of type 2 diabetes, which, remember, 1 out of 2 is pre-diabetic or diabetic, okay? And you can catch the path here and catch it early. You can have pre-diabetes 10 to 15 years, and you look great, but your blood work's off, and you're actually sick. Increased rates of cancer, increased rates of breast cancer, increased unannounced heart attacks, some strokes, impotencies. This is important. I'll tell you why this is important. Because if you become pre-diabetic, diabetic, it can lead to blindness. It can lead to amputations. It can lead to cancer and about 20 other illnesses. And the majority of that is avoidable, preventable, reversible in about a month or two. Yeah. Matter of fact, the blood sugar, Mark Hyman would say in his books, the blood sugar probably will be normal within a week or two. That's if you're eating the right food, okay? And one thing great about this too, at Planet Fitness, I took a 380-pound gentleman who asked me if I could coach him a little bit on the diabetes thing. I saw him once. He was from California, a truck driver. He followed what I said, read what I asked him to look at, ate that way. He did it. I didn't do it. You know what? He weighs 210 pounds. Next time you see me, ask me to show you his picture. I got it on my iPhone. Yeah. He did it. I didn't do it, but he followed what I asked him to do. 0 pills. Was on 12 medications, he said before, costing him a couple $1,000 a month. He saved that cost now. He feels great. He's a truck driver. You can see where truck drivers particularly have a problem because they sit all day. They have sitting disease. So for them to be healthy, they have to eat right. I'm very concerned about what's driving down the road. I think the government regulates it very poorly. Matter of fact, they let them drive if the HbA1c is 8 or below. I mean, they're advanced diabetics. They stop at a truck, eat their food, and they're on the highway. What do you think an hour later their blood sugar is? Out of hand. Dangerous. I'm amazed there aren't even more accidents than there are. So, but if you're overweight, but again, you are what your blood work is, okay? But weight does have a lot to do with this. If you want a BMI, Dr. Furman in his book here would say, you should have a BMI of 23. Yeah. You know what the best test really is for pre-diabetes or diabetes? Belly measurement. That's the best. You got a pot belly, you're probably pre-diabetic. get a blood test. Hope I'm wrong, but usually I'm right. And most physicians don't screen them close enough. They just get a blood sugar now. And this one sheet has on there, you need to get a serum insulin. And if your insulin level is elevated, then we caught you in early diabetes maybe, and you can fix it a lot quicker and avoid these complications because increased rates of insulin in the body cause inflammation in your body. A lot of dementia is related to abnormal blood sugars. Yeah, the sugar combines with proteins deposited in the brain, and we get memory loss. They'll call it Alzheimer's disease, and Eli Lilly spent $1 billion, came up with nothing, no pills, because the genes, the genetic expression to get Alzheimer's doesn't just take one gene. Many, I'd say 75% of these memory problem people we're looking at, it's diabetes. It's insulin resistance. I have the scientific papers at home to prove it to you, but you don't hear about it for a community. There's no money in it. There's no money in it. Okay, that is the reason. Let me go. Another great book I'd like you to have a look at. Goodbye Diabetes by Wes Youngberg. Goodbye Diabetes, Dr. Wes Youngberg. And remember, we're not speaking just of diabetes here. We're speaking about the diseases diabetes causes. That's the reason I'm really harking on that, because blindness, retinal disease, gum disease, thyroid disease, unannounced heart attacks, strokes, fatty liver, renal transplants, liver transplants, amputations. I can add 25 years to your life and maybe free you of 35 years of disability by you paying attention to what you're eating. Remember I said, fast food is what you want to avoid. One way to get around to that, like Mark Hyman, who's one of the authors of one of the tests I recommend there, a very good book, Blood Sugar Solutions, Mark Hyman. He's a doctor. When his family doesn't eat dinner till he comes home, and then they start the cooking process, and he's part of it. So he's gathered the family, everybody's together. And I think learning to cook for all of us is important. Maybe a fifth of us know something about it, and probably that's even incomplete. You pay more attention to what you put in your food when you're cooking. And they don't start anything till he's there and he's part of it. Can you imagine how the family feels too? The love and the gathering of the family together, and they're eating healthier food and paying your attention, what they're putting on their fingers, their forks, and what they're putting in the mouth instead of being blind to it. You know, we go to a fast food place and drive through there and grab the food, whether it be a pizza or hamburger or whatever, paying no attention to what all the chemicals that are in there, all the toxins that are in this factory-made food, which has been stripped of its vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals. And some of these chemicals are addictive. You want more and more and more, and develop tolerance over the years. You want to eat more of this addictive food, and your belly's getting bigger and bigger. And like I said, the trophies, they're thin on the outside, fat on the inside. They have fatty liver, but they look thin. So you get to check the blood work. Get the blood work done of your teenagers. I think that's very important. A lot of teenagers have pre-diabetes or diabetes. Yeah. Food they're eating. A lot of us raise the children on sugary foods, and they're addicted to it. And in the SNAP program, and these things pretend like they're healthier, but they're not really healthy because of lobbying money. The government, matter of fact, will take away all the federal money for supplemental food things in school if you don't give the kids milk. Yeah. They cancel all the funds to the school. Remember what I said about milk? Cow's milk is meant for baby cows, not for your children. Well, why is that? It's full of hormones. they put the cow in a cage to increase its yield of milk, and then they give it hormones to increase the hormonal flows. So instead of 1 gallon per day per cow, it may be at 5 or 10 gallons per day per cow, and they don't. And then they put on them pesticides, and want to kill the mosquitoes and things that are trying to kill the cow, and then your child takes these toxins in. Your child has to detoxify them, and all the hormones that come in to increase milk production. Also, when your child's drinking milk, the child will get those hormones, and guess what? Your child will start menstruating maybe at 8 or 9 instead of 15 or 16. And the longer a child is exposed to estrogen, remember they start menstruating earlier, the estrogen level is up, increases the breast cancer rate. Yeah, breast cancer rate are directly related to length of time exposed to estrogen. And the government supports the price of milk, which is helping kill our children as they grow up, or increased rates of type 1 diabetes, for example. So you must participate in your health care and develop some knowledge, which I'm trying to give to you today. I feel sorry for people who have to eat out, say twice a day. Even in a regular restaurant, the food they serve you, many of it isn't made in the kitchen there. It's brought in from factories where it's processed. Chemicals are added, for example. Even regular restaurants, always ask them, where did this come from? From a pond, the ocean, a factory. Do you make it here? Do you add salt to it? I noticed there's a certain restaurant in town here, the food generally is quite good, but I get on the scale the next day, I'm always up 2 pounds. I didn't eat that much. How could I be up 2 pounds? And 2 days later, back to normal. What do you think? Salt. They're putting salt on everything to make it taste better. I've learned to avoid that restaurant, okay? Because along with increased salt, my blood pressure goes up, okay? I measured it. And so, I mean, I know of people who own big businesses, multimillionaires. Some of them are very unhealthy. Part of it is they eat, and these are wonderful people. They're eating out 2 or 3 times a day. Yeah, they have no time to cook. If you're eating out twice a day, the majority of people are going to be unhealthy. Get your blood work done. Go to a wellness doctor. Work out some every day. But remember what I said. You can work out a lot, but that's worth about 200 calories. You're eating out lunch and you're eating out dinner, you're in a pretty bad situation, okay? And fast food is also related to sugar consumption. When they invented high fructose corn syrup, they invented sugar made from corn. A Japanese gentleman did it about 1971, and that made the sugar very cheap, much cheaper than regular sugar. So they put it in all the sodas and all the foods, and also if you put in a donut, the donut can live longer, okay? So all these donuts and muffins you eat have high fructose corn syrup in them. Matter of fact, they won't rot. Matter of fact, I accidentally was given chicken McNuggets a couple of years ago instead of coffee, and I was paying attention to what they put in the bags. Usually they don't put in a bag. And I'm driving to Van Wert, and now I want my coffee, and I go in the bag, and it's chicken McNuggets. So I took it home, and I laid it out for my woodchuck Woody. Well, I didn't realize it then. I didn't know it then. I know now he's a vegetarian. He wouldn't eat them. But neither would all the other animals. They just laid out there for a week. Nobody touched them. Why is that? They're chemicals. Their sense of smell is better than ours. Most animals have a better sense of smell, okay? And nobody ate them. I'd throw them away. So all these, you want to avoid these chemical foods and processed foods and man-made foods. You want to eat foods from nature. You want to go to the businesses you see now, Whole Foods, Earth Fare, for example, all these type of stores you can and buy as natural a food as you can. I was there the other day at O4, and I met two of my grandchildren. One of my sons had triplets, and two of them were quite informed. I was really glad to see that. They either did, the mothers orientate that way, and maybe they learned a little bit from me. I don't know, but they're eating correctly. So you got to pay attention to where you're shopping. A nice way to get a fresh food, actually buy it frozen. Why is that? Because as soon as the vegetables are picked, say in California, bang, they freeze them right away. So if you take those and put them in your smoothie, you have fresh vegetables. Check the bag, make sure there's no additional chemicals added to it. That's a good way to get fresh food if you can't get it actually fresh itself. Some things are out of season and you can't get them fresh. So there's some seasonal changes. So I think to eat 70–80% of vegetables, and I said a little bit of meat if you have to, exercise at least a half hour a day, more if you do. I play more than that because I have more time now. I play what I do, tennis, pickleball. Yeah, don't try unless you watched it, okay? And each sport has a, some risk to it. And I work out, lift, Planet Fitness, lift some light weights and on the treadmill, those things, 3–4 days a week. Take a walk in nature in the morning. Not everybody has time for that, but I make time for that. I'm a busy guy, and I make time for that, and because I always say to everyone, if you're healthy, you're worth $1 million. If you're not healthy, what good are these multi-millionaires, at least to themselves? I mean, that some of these things they're running are helping people, no doubt about it. I mean, but some businesses don't help people. I mean, I know some, for example, when I was at a wedding this weekend, there was one young man, he was so excited he was going to start a new business in Detroit that sells medicinal marijuana. And he thought it was so innocent, and maybe it helps a couple of people medically, but other drugs would do the same thing. But let's pretend and say, oh, okay. But usually that's used as a way to get into another state, to get them to accept all other THC products, okay? So be careful about that. I'm afraid our state is going to be surrounded by that. And he says, well, they're going to make $200 billion. Okay, so I see where he's orientated, to the bucks. Well, maybe somebody has to, but, this young guy with a good brain who could run other businesses, does he have to run that kind of a business? It meant nothing to him. It means something to me. Are you helping people? But for some of us who can't make any money, I can see the point. Leave it up to the people to select whether they buy the product or not. Maybe I could see the point there. When I was speaking earlier about Dr. West Youngberg and Goodbye Diabetes, this book right here, excellent book to read. He went there 15 years to the island of Guam and taught the natives how to eat differently. And he's part of the Amen Society. They I think, out of the West. And I accidentally ran across them at a hotel at Hilton Head, and I got to know them. Pretty good, wonderful people. They were all over the world, and they're teaching. And that method of testing the blood is what I have on this sheet here, and it's very good. It's a very good system, how to catch people on the path to pre-diabetes to diabetes. And remember what I said, just your blood sugar is not enough. You need to get a serum insulin, get a glucose tolerance test. A good one too is triglyceride HDL ratio, LDL HDL ratio, for example, because the LDL, one of the fats in the blood, the big fluffy one is what they give all the medications on, is almost irrelevant. It's the small LDL, the one that hits every crack in your vessels and causes atherosclerosis. That's the figure you need to know. And that usually you have to do that to an NMR test, nuclear magnetic resonance test. That's the one that's really important in your triglyceride level, because as sugar sucrose, say, comes into your blood system, it's broken up into glucose, insulin level goes up. The other half is fructose, goes to the liver, makes fat. And and the fat gets converted to triglycerides, and that's what causes insulin resistance, where these receptors get full of fat, and insulin cannot get sugar in the cell for energy. If you have no energy, you're dead, okay? So the insulin level goes up, the pancreas secretes more insulin to get the sugar in there. Sugar level's normal, you weigh 250, say, your sugar's normal, you don't have diabetes. Baloney to you, okay? I'm telling you now, get a serum insulin, you might find out, oh, serum insulin is elevated. Will catch you at very early, either pre-diabetes or early diabetes, because the way they're diagnosing people in this country, they catch you in an advanced stage. Mark Kachmann puts it at 5 stages. That's again on this sheet here. It's all on this sheet. We catch you at stage 4 or 5. What's the next one? Amputations, death. I want to catch you very early. So get that serum insulin. Pay attention to your blood work. Get it at a young age. Get it on your kids, even if they're thin. My neighbor's kid, for example, thin as can be, we come to find out Grandpa took him to a fast food place right next door to his well-known high school, and took him there almost every day for companionship, and that was great. But when Grandpa died of eating this, part of it, I think, was eating this bad food. I don't know the total reason, but he died at a younger age. We checked the blood work of the child, and his triglycerides fell like 350. 3 months after eating well, it was normal. Fortunately, we caught it. But that child might have had a heart attack in his 30s, in his 40s. So what I'm trying to get you to do is to pay attention to the type of food that you're eating. That's the critical thing. Type of food, okay? What are you putting in your fingers, your forks, and how are you using your feet? Are you walking a little bit, or have sitting disease and sit all day? So it's a type of food. Avoid fast food. And if you say, well, I don't have the time, it's actually been studied. It has been studied. Dr. Katz, K-T-Z, wrote a great book, Disease Proof Your Life. And it says, it has frankly has been studied, that good food, contrary to what the word is out there, is actually cheaper. You buy it in bulk, and it's cheaper. If you pay attention to how you are preparing your food, you can prepare things 3 days ahead on Sunday, for example. So you get the time. You got to want to have the time. Don't use as an excuse that you got to run to this fast food place and feed the whole family. You're killing your family. You're killing your children. Yes, you're doing it. You're feeding these high sugary, high fat foods when you should be doing some cooking in the family. Incidentally, kids like to cook. Yeah. With Dr. Rulo, a pediatrician, him and I for a year gave cooking classes to children. Finally, we stopped it because their parents weren't interested. But I tell you who was interested? The children. Yeah, one of my neighbor kids. There's a huge family, 10 kids, and I saw him walking around with 2 books one day down the street, and I take a walk every morning, and I hand him Dr. Furman's book, Quick Fix, and I saw him and 3 other kids. They couldn't be 10, 12 years old between them. I'm at the Y playing my usual pickleball, and we had never seen anything like it. Here, walk out these 4 children who have been adopted by this family, 10, so they of all different colors and races. These 4 little kids walked out with pickleball paddles to play pickleball. And the kid's saying, "Hi, Doc." Well, that boy, the reason he recognized me, I had given him the Quick Fix book, and for this family of 10, he fixes 2 meals a day. How do you think I felt when I saw him? There were no little kids there. We haven't ever seen any except a high school kid or two. These kids in the 10, I think they're being homeschooled, and then she sends them to the Y. Maybe they're the babysitter, I don't know. So I don't know the whole story. But they're playing each other pickleball, so I stuck around and gave them a lesson. This could get me interesting. Maybe I'll end up being their coach. But the kids are cooking. Isn't it a wonderful thing? Can you imagine that this spreads through the whole family, that all the kids learn to cook? What have we done here? 10 adopted children who came probably from troubled homes who are exercising. They're cooking. So you participating, showing some love to the community, can change a lot of people. And lead to happier lives, healthy lives. That probably will do better in school too, because they'll probably teach eventually when they do go to school, because sooner or later they'll probably head to a regular school system. So in summary, what am I saying here? Learn about good nutrition, okay? And it's not hard. 70-80% vegetables and fruit, 20% organic meat, exercise 30 minutes a day, find time somewhere, okay? Learn about some things about stress reduction. I have Rudy's 20 prescriptions for stress reduction. You can get a copy of that at this Three River Pharmacy there at Concordia High School. You can get a copy of that. Maybe pick up a copy of this way of testing to see if you may be developing pre-diabetes. And I have all my books laid out there too for consumption. There's also a 7-foot big screen TV there, and you can speak to the programmer and say, gluten problem. You know, most people don't realize they have a gluten problem. That many have a gluten problem. Up comes my YouTube TV shows, all for free. They're an hour long, about 300 shows can come right up there. So I have a lot of people lost their diabetes and caught a couple of people who actually had a gluten problem, didn't know it. They were having serious bowel problems, and some even had seizures. They all stopped when they started eating a gluten-free diet. So participate in your health care. I think this is important. Get tested. Maybe watch my free YouTube shows. Look at Kachmann.health.com, Facebook, Kachmann Live to Be 100. A lot of free information available. Maybe attend my free lectures at Lutheran Hospital, or see me for consultation at the pharmacy. Why am I doing this? I love you, I care about you. And see you next time. Bye-bye.